guys, welcome to my channel. This is Carrie with Book for Romance. Boop. Okay, if you're new to my channel, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. Thank you for the support. I love it. This is my very first TBR. What do I read during the month? And you know what? I feel like I lock that down. I don't tell anybody what I read for the month, and I feel like, girl, you have a book YouTube channel. You need to tell people what you read. So now I'm here telling you guys what I read. Let's be honest, I'm not very forthcoming when it comes to that because I get a little shy. I'm always scared that someone's gonna be like, you read that? And I'm gonna be like, guilty as charged. I totally read that. So now I'm stepping forward. I'm telling you guys exactly what I read. I'm very excited, so let's get to it. The very first book that I heard from Lacey at Book Lovers is Ruthless Princess. So I looked up Ruthless Princess by Rachel Van Dyken, and it showed that it was a spin-off series to its main series, Eagle Elite. And at first I was like, oh no, I'm not gonna read 10 books to catch up with Ruthless Princess. But then I thought to myself, if I read Ruthless Princess and not get some of the backstories of some of the characters that are in Ruthless Princess, I'm gonna be so bummed. So then I ended up for September reading about maybe 6 books of Eagle Elite, which I just finished the 6th book probably today, so maybe a couple days when this actually airs. And now I'm starting on book 7. This is book number 7 that I'm starting. So I'm gonna read book 7, 8, 9, and then start on Ruthless Princess, which will be number 10. But let's start off with Elite, because I will tell you about the first book, and then eventually when I do my October wrap up, I'll tell you about maybe the whole series a little bit so I don't spoil any of the books, because I feel like if I tell you about individual books, it will spoil the books as you go on, because you definitely have to read this series in order. So we're gonna start with Elite, and you start off with their main heroine, Tracy Brooks, and she gets this scholarship to Eagle Elite University, and she's so excited. She shows up on the first day of school and she runs into our main hero, Nixon. And Nixon is the class president. He runs pretty much the elite on campus, which the main elite are 4 guys, and they call themselves the elite. And you don't talk to the elite, you don't look at the elite, and you don't speak to the elite. So she's kind of starts off in this school, the ground rules are set for her, and now she has to kind of navigate in this school that nobody wants her to be at, and she finds out things about herself, she finds out things about her classmates, and it all becomes really an interesting plot and characterization build on everything that goes on in the school. So that's pretty much Elite. So I'm really excited to jump into Ruthless Princess, because at the end of the day, I definitely want to see the kids of this elite crew, which it already tells you in Ruthless Princess that is in the Goodreads, what do they call it? Snippet. So I'm not spoiling anything that they don't already want you to know. So anyway, that being said, moving on to the next one, we're gonna go with The Ark. The Ark is gonna be right up here. It's A Duchess a Day by Cheris Michaels. I got this recommendation from Peace Love Books, and whenever there's a retelling of Snow White and her huntsman, sign me up for that. Like, hello, like that is like retelling royalty right there, along with, of course, like Beauty and the Beast or the main retellings. But anyway, we start off with our main heroine, Helena, and she is supposed to be wed to a duke, and she is not about that. She's just like, no, I'm gonna try everything in my power not to be wed to this duke. But after she tries to run away and all this other shenanigans that she tries to pull, her family gets fed up with her and sends her to London. Well, she concocts a plan in her head to say, hey, I'm gonna try to find someone to take my place. So then we have Declan, our main hero, and after his last job, he ended up being in jail because of what false accusations were planted against him. So his last job, which was another aristocratic female, ended up getting him thrown in jail. So he's kind of sworn off all aristocratic women. So then the main duke of the series comes to Declan and is like, if you escort my soon-to-be betrothed to me, I will erase all your jail time and all the debt that has to go along with that. So he thinks this is a pretty good deal. So he ends up trying to escort Helena across the country to him. But little does Declan know that since Helena has concocted this plan, she ends up making trouble for him, and they end up, quote unquote, maybe possibly falling in love. So that's kind of the premise to A Duchess a Day. It sounds amazing. I can't wait to dive into it. And yeah, so that would be I was gonna say book 2, but since I'm reading like 4 more books in the Eagle Elite series, I'm gonna say that's book 5. Moving on to book 6. Book 6 is Damsel by Claire Delacroix. Now, I had mentioned this book before. I have not gotten into it yet, so I'm moving it to October. The first one that I read was last month, and it was The Princess. And it kind of follows the 3 brothers on a journey to find their significant others. The first one, I'll tell you some about this one, but I won't tell you who it is because I feel like it ruins it for the first one. But the first one is kind of like a retelling of the Persian folklore of the 3 princes, where the 3 princes go out on a quest, find the princess a gift, and from the gift, the princess ends up choosing her beloved. That's kind of the premise of The Princess. The Damsel is a Cinderella retelling. And we start off with our main hero and Alice actually falling for each other. It actually starts off right off the bat. And her uncle wanted the main hero to pick one of his daughters. So he ends up telling the main hero a bunch of twisted lies and ends up getting the main hero to leave Alice at the castle, and Alice is left here to pick up the pieces. So she ends up in her uncle's home becoming a servant because her uncle's so mad at her for not only being with the main hero but also making it to where he wanted to leave instead of choosing one of his daughters. So then once you get to the main hero, at the end of book 1, he ends up deciding, you know what, I really want to find true love. So he ends up riding back to this castle, and he ends up slowly figuring out that the lies that were told might not be so true. So then he ends up trying to win back the main heroine, Alice. So that's kind of where we start with Damsel. I really can't wait to read this. I mean, anything with the Cinderella retelling vibe is always sign me up for that. So moving on to the next book. Hoard by Catherine Leno. Now this book is really beautiful to begin with. I did receive this in my Owl Crate box and I wanted to give it a go. I know it's not romance. I feel like it will give a little bit of horror to it, but I think it's gonna be like a lighter type of horror. We start off with our main heroine, Jane, and her father had just passed away. So they ended up moving back from California to their mother's old house in Maine. And she is a girl who's just trying to start over. So she ends up making some new friends. Unfortunately, the town bully ends up finding her as well. So she ends up being bullied during this time. Also during this time, her mother seemed to be having trouble living in her childhood home. So Jane is slowly figuring out what has happened in this childhood home. She ends up discovering, she thinks at first it's a storage closet, but it's not. It's a girl's bedroom that has been perfectly kept for so many years. And little does she know that the bedroom is not vacant. It is occupied by something. So that's where we start with Hoard. I'm really excited to kick into this. It looks like a pretty quick read. I mean, if you guys can see that, I mean, the words are pretty big. I mean, I say maybe a day or 2, I'll be done with this. And yeah, next, Ace of Shades by Amanda Foody. Okay, this freaking book is so amazing. Yes, am I gonna read it again? Absolutely. Because let's be honest, I read it 2 years ago. Because we're gonna read this. We're gonna read King of Fools, and we're gonna read Queen of Volts. So I'm gonna read the trilogy all at once. I waited to read the second one because I am like that. I know when I get into a series, I want to hold on to that one book and then go back to it, because otherwise I'll have to read 2 books again, and then I'll have to read all 3, and then it gets to be a little bit too much reading, especially with how much I'm trying to get read. So with that being said, let me give you the premise of Ace of Shades. Now, Ace of Shades starts out with our main heroine, Emmy. And Emmy is like a proper lady. She is definitely not someone of the world. She's definitely very, what would be a good word for that? She's very naive. We'll say Emmy is pretty naive. So anyway, her mother ends up going missing. So she takes it upon herself to go search out her mother. So she leaves finishing school and she goes into Sin City. Yes, Sin City. This is a place where casinos reign and gangs infest the streets. So we have a naive girl walking into a city like this, but then she runs into our main hero, Levi. And Levi, let's just say he is a lord, a con man, all wrapped up into one. And he is definitely trying to play the field right now. He's on a con and he has one more payment to grab before the con either unravels or is successful. So he's got to get this one last payment. But unfortunately, he just can't seem to land the funds he needs to make the con work. Well, Emmy throws him a lifeline. She ends up telling him that she would pay his commission if he helps her find her mother. So that's kind of where we start. They end up going on this journey. She is kind of discovering things as they go along. Levi has his enemies trailing behind them, and they literally are in a game of cat and mouse. Also, it's really an awesome book. I just feel like I have to read this one snippet. Take a card and stake your soul. Survive is your only goal. Surrender the vice within. Bet your life. Hope you win. I mean, goodness, like, tell me that that does not catch you. I mean, honestly, when it comes to like bets or like betting your soul, like, sign me up. So I'm gonna read those 3 for October as well. And the very last book on the agenda is, drumroll please, The Inheritance Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Now, this one, I walked into Barnes & Noble's one day and I'm like, I'm not gonna buy a book. Why do I need to buy a book? I've got 1 million in my home. But I saw this, and of course it's green, because we all know that green catches my eye. And then I start reading this. And the very front says, she came for nothing, they have everything, let the games begin. I'm like, that's interesting. Let's go from there. Let's see what we can find out about this book. Apparently, our main heroine, who is Avery, just wants to survive high school. She just wants to get out of this town and win a scholarship. That's all she wants to do. But Tobias, I think his name is Tobias Hawthorne, has other ideas. He is worth, what is it? $46.2 billion. And yes, he leaves it all to Avery. So Avery is now inherited $46.2 billion. Now there's a catch. She has to go and live in his home. In his home, he has 4 grandsons. 4 grandsons who have not inherited anything. And these boys have not wanted for anything in their whole life. So they have pretty much been given everything since birth. So for them, they end up seeing her, and one of the boys thinks she's a con woman. The other boy is trying to figure out and piece together the puzzles or riddles of what Avery had to do to end up getting this inheritance. And then Avery is kind of thrown into this game of mysteries and riddles, and she has to figure out the game in order to survive. So that's pretty much the inheritance game. This is definitely the top book of this month for me. I will keep you posted. I feel like this one and maybe this one have kind of like similar vibes to them, because I feel like they're both like dealing with games and riddles, and I'll say you know, I'll have to get back to you. Like, if you like this, then maybe you'll like this. So I'll have to get back to you if they're comparable. But that is my October TBR. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had fun making it. Honestly, you know, it's so funny because I read through books and I don't even think about, hey, like, I read so many books in a month. Maybe you guys would want to know what I'm reading for the month and what I'm up to, and keep you posted, and, you know, tell you what the books I absolutely love and the books you might want to steer clear of and things like that. So I'm so happy to have each and every one of you. And till next time, you guys take care of yourself, and bye.